and the Social Security, Housing and Finance Corporation. The performance contract is one of the key public sector reforms government is undertaking with the sole objective of improving performance and delivering quality and timely services to the people of this country, whilst improving productivity and instilling greater sense of accountability for the effective service delivery. I'm sure we all agree that when you do well, you are expected to get rewards, but also if you underperform, you expect to get the results that goes with it. On that note, I would call on all of us to join me into the program today. First of all, we'll outline and get a brief summary from the Director of SOEs at the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Baimadi Sise, and then we'll have a representative of all the SOEs, or the Managing Director of GPA to speak on their behalf, and the board chairperson of the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation will also speak on behalf of all the chairpersons, and the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs will speak on behalf of the ministers. And then His Excellency will give the keynote address that will be followed by the signing ceremony. On that note, I would call on Baimadi Sise, Director of SOEs at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, to give a brief remark. Mr. Sise.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Honorable Cabinet Ministers here present, Permanent Secretaries here present, Board Chairmen, Managing Directors, Senior Government Officials, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. It is indeed a pleasure of mine to be here present today for the performance signing contract of the GPA, Social Security, and also the GNPC. I would like to start, Mr. President, by saying that this has really been an eye-opening for us, eye-opening exercise for us. Eye-opening in the sense that we've really learned quite a lot during this entire process. But the most important lesson that we learned during this entire process is that performance contracts has the potential to be the anchor for government state-owned enterprise reform. It has a lot of potential in these performance contracts. When we want to change the narrative of these state-owned enterprises, from being a drain to government to being highly functional, this is the way to go. If you look at these performance contracts, how do you transit from a loss-making state-owned enterprise to a profit-making state-owned enterprise? How do we go from a below-average efficiency in terms of service delivery to a very effective, efficient, and quality public service delivery? How do you go from a weak corporate governance to a very strengthened corporate governance framework? The performance contract tool has the potential to take all this into consideration. So really, I think it is an excellent tool. And also, just to give a brief historical perspective, if you look at what transpired in the 1990s, early 1990s, with the NIB, the National Investment Board at the time, and if you look at during that time, we had the strongest SOE performances in this country. Case in point is the GPMB, the Gambia Produce Marketing Board. At the time, they used to purchase hundreds of thousands of tons of groundnuts every year. Not only were they exporting these groundnuts, but they were also adding value to it, producing very good quality groundnut oil and vegetable oil. Likewise, also, if you look at the early 90s with the Gamtel, used to be ranked as one of the top state-owned telecommunications company in the entire Africa. And you move forward a little bit in the early 2000s, you look at the performances of the GPA under the GDA, Gambia Divestiture Agency Program at the time. And you looked at the performances of the GPA, whereby it served as a central hub when it comes to the re-export trade. You also looked at the performances of Gamcel as well. At the time, they were the only GSM telecommunications. All these companies were doing well. But the point I'm trying to make is that the parallel between NIB and GDA is anchored on one thing: performance management contracts. They both had it at the time, NIB and also the GDA. So we strongly believe that this performance contracts has the potential to transform the entire SOE sector. Because through these performance contracts, government can basically map out a vision of each and every single SOE and then implement that vision through the execution of these performance contracts. So there's a lot of potential in this performance contract. However, having said that also, I'll have to add, we have to be very realistic in terms of managing our expectations. Signing the performance contracts alone will not completely transform or immediately transform these public enterprises. This is going to be a process. It's going to be a very lengthy process. It can take up to 3, 4, or 5 years, given the legacy issues and the historical issues pertaining to these SOEs, whereby for the past 14, 15 years, they've been underperforming. So which is why what we've done as a directorate, we've basically come up with the SOE reform agenda with the support from the management, especially the minister, looking at SOE reform in the short term, the medium term, and also the long term. And finally, that leads me to thank also the World Bank in particular, because when we first started to come up with this plan, one of the first documents we looked at was the Ernst & Young Audit Recommendation Report, and there was another documentation that was produced by the World Bank, and it's called the ISOF Report, Integrated State-Owned Enterprise Framework Report. And this gave us a lot of ideas as far as how to approach SOE reform in this country. So with that, I thank you very much, Your Excellency, and also particularly also thank my Honorable Minister. He's been extremely supportive and committed when it comes to SOE reforms. I remember one particular case whereby we had negotiations with one particular SOE, and it was very, very tough, very, very tough. In certain areas, we were making very good progress, but in other areas, it was very, very challenging. And when I escalated to the Honorable Minister, he told me, we have to move forward with these performance contracts. We have to find a solution. Called him to my office for a meeting. And I did that. I invited that SOE with the chairman and the managing director. And he resolved all the issues. Just goes to show how committed he is when it comes to these SOE reforms. Finally, let me also take this opportunity to thank my team. They've been really very, very instrumental, from my deputy, Yama, Chilel, Yankuba, Malik, and also Mr. Njai. Thank you for putting up with me. I know I've been pushing you a lot, all the efforts. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cisse. As we all desire, as PA, to speak on behalf of his colleagues. Mr. Jabate.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic. Good afternoon, the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ministers here present, the Chief of Staff, Office of the President, the development partners of the Gambia, the chairpersons of the SOEs, the consultants to this performance contract project, senior government officials, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Allow me first and foremost to express to all those present at this auspicious occasion ceremony, which marks the official signing ceremony of the new performance contract between government and the SOEs. Now, this signing ceremony is being made against the background of the new political dispensation under the able stewardship of His Excellency the President of the Republic, Adam Barrow, following the democratic change of government. This contract is part of new governance instruments and protocols designed to usher improved enterprise performance, better service delivery, and contribute more meaningfully towards national socio-economic development. It is my privilege as Managing Director, on behalf of my colleagues, to express gratitude to His Excellency for the confidence that he has reposed in the board and management and staff of these institutions in our collective efforts to ensure sustainable management and operations of our institutions, which account for a good part of our country's volume of trade and business. Noting that public expectation is now even higher than ever towards the delivery of much needed services, it is our fervent commitment to leverage on the support from government and the line ministries that we are under to bring about the much needed investment for sustainable development of our economy. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our institutions also continue to grapple with numerous challenges. The need to acquire more capital and financial resources for continuous development, as also challenges when it comes to operations and personnel, amongst others. Now, this performance contract, which institutions like the GPA is not new to, will provide the platform to harness the potentials to enhance the transformation of our institutions. Some of them, it's on record that whilst the erstwhile contract was discontinued in 1993, some had achieved success to the extent that it warranted them to be graduated into commercialization, that is being transformed from public institutions to limited liability companies. Some of these achievements is what we are continuing to regain beyond the objectives of this new contract. These potentials may be aligned also with the significant strides in the national economic recovery effort, and thanks in part to the application of prudent financial management practices, government's commitment to implement sound and well-informed public sector reforms that are hinged on accountability, control of government expenditure, and greater participation of the private sector as the engine of economic growth. It is against this backdrop that we have the common resolve for the continuous development of our institutions aimed at transforming the Gambia into a center of excellence for regional trade and distribution, for value-added re-export activities, given our country's strategic location in the ECOWAS market, which has a population in excess of more than 250 million and annual trade valued in excess of 500 billion. I thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. And the thank you very much. Managing Director, Chairperson of the Board of the Social Security and Housing, to give a brief remark on behalf of the Board of Directors.
Good morning, His Excellency Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia. Good morning to the Speaker and members of Cabinet who are here present. I am a new face to most of you all, but an old face to some of you. In such gathering, there is no need to crack jokes, but with all seriousness, if you don't crack a joke, things become boring. And I once remember when I was playing basketball, we went to a school and the PE instructor, then as he was called, said that I want to thank all participants who participated in this participation because it was an all secondary school sports. So we went back and told him, please sir, there's too much participation, participate. And he says, you know what, just leave it there and go. So I want to say the same thing here for all of us who are here to witness this signing ceremony. It is indeed a pleasure for me to speak on behalf of my other board chair. We have been going through this internally, I know for some of us, and we saw this as an opportunity to reinforce the thinking that we had as board to deliver the expectations as it should have been, or it should be. In particular, we in Social Security are more concerned with the social aspect of our citizens, because one day we all will be retirees, we all will want to benefit from whatever policies that we are going to put in place so that the institution becomes sustainable and not a burden to government as a trustee to come and refinance the Social Security. In doing so, I want to leverage on the government to assist us, especially the Social Security, to get some of our SOEs to pay up their debt. It is indeed disheartening. You are using an asset that was financed by the Social Security, and yet still you are saying you are not going to pay. I just cannot fathom that excuse. Not to take much of this august body's time, and to say that on behalf of my other chairpersons, I want to assure you, Mr. President, that we will do everything humanly possible within the ambit of the law to do and to produce what is expected of us at this signing ceremony, the details of which we will share with the rest of our management team. I know all of us have some concerns to raise, but we want to assure you that with the Honorable Minister, our direct line authority, we would want to share a lot of things that we think will make the delivery of the expectations much easier. In fact, we have validated some of the changes that we expect to have on the Social Security Act, which we will pass through the ministry, use the usual channel, so that it becomes something that everybody would benefit from. Not any major changes, but these are slightly significant changes, like if somebody is bereaved, who would enjoy the benefits. You know, some of these little things, you know, lawyers are very smart, and they have done that to protect the institution. But we believe if I have contributed towards the institution, my benefits should go down to my next of kin. And this is something that we believe has to change. And in doing so, we believe that the beneficiaries then would at least embrace us as working for them, not working for ourselves. I don't have much to add on to what the MD of Gambia Ports Authority have said, but just to highlight that there are things that we have to leverage with the government through our line ministry, and we hope that that will become successful. I thank you all.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Cabinet colleagues here and present, Chief of Staff, Permanent Secretaries, Board of Directors, Chairman, Managing Directors of the Parastatals, World Bank Country Representative Rep, IMF Country Representative Rep, distinguished guests, press, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege to me to welcome you to this performance signing ceremony. And let me begin by, first of all, thanking His Excellency the President for his unflinching support, guidance, and trust in us as a ministry, and in me as a minister particular, to spearhead this laudable effort to get our state-owned enterprises back on track. Ever since I assumed office, and in line with the government objectives, we have placed significant trust on the SOE reform as one of the key priorities of the ministry. This is due to the fact that the SOEs have the potential to impact the government economic agenda on two fronts. One, they could be harnessed to deliver public services in the most efficient and reliable manner, whilst contributing meaningfully to public finances by paying dividends, or, as has been the case, adversely affect the treasury and causing fiscal risk to our economy due to their underperformance, that culminates in government having to bail them out. Over the past 15 years, the SOEs have posed significant considerable challenge to the government, particularly in the fiscal risks. This is mainly due to the fact that they were not only not paying dividend, but also they were a drag on the public purse due to the intervention the government had to do to bail them out. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, these mediocre performance have been very constraining on the public finances. Between 2018 and 2020 alone, 1% of the GDP was spent on bailing out the SOEs. And this excludes the debt service payment made by the government on behalf of the SOEs, which are yet to be reimbursed by the relevant SOEs. In addition, government has written off or has taken over significant debts of the SOE totaling to 3% of the GDP. On their tax obligations, the SOEs have only paid 0.2% of the GDP in taxes on average between 2016 to 2019, and which are a reflection of the large tax exemptions and the limited ability to meet the tax payments due to their financial difficulties. Given the above, the SOEs pose significant fiscal risks to the government, which includes, among others, direct and explicit government obligations related to external loans used for projects. Another risk is the potential default on loans contracted directly by the SOEs with the government guarantees. And finally, the fiscal risk implicit in this. Your Excellency, the reasoning for raising all of these issues is mainly to highlight the fact that the current trajectory of the SOEs is unsustainable, and therefore urgent need is felt to place corrective measures to address these concerns. Due to all of this, the Ministry, through the SOE Directorate Oversight Department, has been playing a very proactive role in our SOE oversight function. To this end, we have institutionalized a formulation of a quarterly SOE performance assessments that assess the performance of the SOEs and quantify the potential fiscal risk they pose to the government. However, our current quarterly internal assessments of the financial performance of the SOEs indicate that most of them are still financially distressed with serious liquidity challenges, whereas some are even insolvent. We have also drawn up a turnaround strategy for these SOEs and are working in collaboration with the National Audit Office, building on the recommendation of the Ernst & Young recommendations to implement the reforms we are here in proposing. And one of those key reform agenda is the signing of the performance contract with the SOEs. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, on a more positive note, the SOE sector has assets totaling 34 billion, around 25% of our GDP. And our objective is a target rate of return of 2 to 5% to the central government. The sector contributes significantly across all spectrum of the economy, ranging from transport, infrastructure, agriculture, media, digital economy, and energy. In addition, the sector provides employment for more than 7,500 Gambians, with a potential to employ more. And as a result, we believe that we have started on a nation basis, and last year we received $270 million as dividend from few SOEs, among them the leading being the Ports Authority, Gambia Ports Authority, who is going to be one of the signatories today. Hence, these reforms we are putting in place now are geared towards transforming these institutions to be providing the relevant services as per their mandate, while contributing to economy positively through fulfilling all their financial obligations through taxes as well as contributing positively through the payment of dividends. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by highlighting the relevance of these performance contracts that will be signed between your good self, Your Excellency, and the respective SOE here present. These contracts are designed to ascertain that SOEs know exactly what is expected of them, and they will soon be ready for performance, and their performance will be measured, and the consequence of any performance measurement will be in full force. Performance contract features strategically developed KPIs unique to each SOE, and the KPIs were developed taking into account the specific natures of the SOEs and their financial situation. Overall, the KPIs are deemed challenging but realistic, and we encourage both the board and the management to work hard towards their realization, and in so doing, the economic uplift that the country will benefit if these targets are realized. I take this opportunity once again, Your Excellency, to thank you for your leadership and the keen interest you have demonstrated in the development of the SOE sector. You've been instrumental by challenging us to find solutions to address the challenges in the sector. And I recall the number of meetings we had with you personally on matters of SOE. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my colleague ministers here in present, the permanent secretaries of the various line ministries, for their collaboration and dedication to do us this reform agenda. We also extend once again our deepest appreciation to the chairman of the board of directors, the managing directors, and the staff of the respective SOEs. We know coming up here was not easy. As has been alluded to, it required some lot of work, which has been culminated in the signing ceremony today. My sincere appreciation also go to our development partners, including the World Bank, the IMF, and the EU for their continued support and the public finance reform agenda, and we thank them for their support. Finally, I hereby thank all the staff of the Ministry of Finance and my two permanent secretaries and the Directorate of the SOE, who have all worked tirelessly to make today a reality. With that, I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Revert to the signing ceremony according to protocol before HED.
Minister, you also signing for the GP1 as a witness.
Yes. Yeah.
Only witness to the sign.
Thank you. The Works Minister is also signing for witness.
That's one. Second one. sign as an February 1st. Yes.
Next, we'll invite
The president is signing this one.
Already signed this one.
Now His Excellency is signing. And the second copy. Thank you very much, I guess. Thank you very much. On this one, we'll also have the Honorable Minister for Finance to also witness. The MD is now signing, Mr. Salum Malam. Again, the Honorable Minister has signed as a witness, and His Excellency is also signing as a key partner, I guess, in this whole process. Public witnessing of this signing ceremony. Thank you very much. Gambia National Petroleum Corporation, Mr. Jigo, and his
Port Authority, the one that had an issue, I have a copy. Yeah, so you can just add. Yes, let them just.
Signing the contract. Both copies. Honorable Abdul Job will be signing as a witness.
You will sign this again. See this sign on the other side. So,
Once again, will be signing as a witness. I guess because of the financial implication and the line ministry for financial issues, he'll have to witness all of them. His Excellency is signing for this ceremony. Thank you very much.
National Assembly, Honorable Cabinet Ministers, senior government officials here present, board chairpersons and managing directors of state-owned enterprises, World Bank country representative, IMF resident representative, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to oversee the signing of the performance contracts between the executive and the Gambia Port Authority, the Gambia National Petroleum Corporation, and the Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. These are three extremely important state-owned enterprises whose operations have a telling impact on the life of the Gambian citizens and the economic performance of the government. It is no secret that state-owned enterprises play a vital role in our national development endeavors. It is expected that in providing essential social services for the public, they do so in a financially and operationally robust manner to ease the pressure on central government resources and contribute positively to economic growth. Our experience is that despite the enormous investments made by government in SOEs, many of these entities continue to post losses. This has made it necessary to devise a renewed strategy to change the narrative and strengthen their operations and performance. Ladies and gentlemen, my government is committed to solving the trouble of ineffective SOE oversight, which has contributed to the current low performance levels of some public enterprises. To this end, we have taken important steps to remedy the legacy issues constraining public enterprise operations. Key among them was to conduct a special purpose audit on all 13 SOEs in the country. Apart from the audit, it was thought appropriate to introduce an SOE bill, which will be tabled before the National Assembly soon. Once passed, the SOE bill will lead to the establishment of a commission with oversight functions on all SOEs. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a critical stage in the development process of this country, wherein all public institutions have to deliver on their mandates in the most efficient, effective, and transparent manner. That is the only way we can realize our collective goals as a nation. Moving forward, the government will continue to work with all public enterprises and ensure that they do not only deliver public services in a reliable and efficient manner, but also contribute to government fiscal operations by disbursing dividends payable to their shareholders. Ladies and gentlemen, the signing of these performance management contracts between my office and the respective heads of SOEs and board chairpersons is an other relevant and critically significant government initiative. The contracts are designed to challenge SOEs and spell out the roles they are expected to play to achieve the objectives and targets set for them. Also, they are to ascertain that SOE performance and results are closely and rightly monitored and measured. In addition, the contracts are to guarantee the establishment of a strategic framework for accountability and effective communication between the enterprises and their shareholders. Public expectations are high in the country. With relevant competence, authority, and integrity, SOE boards should execute their functions of strategic guidance, monitoring and management oversight by acting in the best interest of their public enterprises and shareholders. Board decisions should be consistent with the mandate of the SOEs and in accordance with best practices. I encourage you to review and update your board charters. Like management, you will be held accountable for the failure to attain the targets indicated in the performance contracts. The occasion accords me the opportunity to challenge and encourage public enterprises to initiate change and put an end to undue containment and underachievement or low performance in service delivery. I ask all public servants, ranging from ministers to board members and management, to view and appreciate these contracts from a positive perspective. Those entrusted with responsibility must deliver for their own moral satisfaction, but more so for the public good. In this way, the country will create and boost of high-performing public enterprises that serve the public diligently. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to congratulate the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs for spearheading this laudable initiative. What we need to do now is to institutionalize a true effective implementation and monitoring mechanism. In the near future, all public enterprises will be required to sign performance contracts that would push them to reach set output targets in terms of both operational and financial performance. I thank the chairpersons, managing directors, and staff of the various public enterprises for their hard work and commitment during the negotiation process. This is a promising start, and you have the full support of my government. I have no doubt that very soon there will be a positive turnaround of all state enterprises in the Gambia. Ladies and gentlemen, I will conclude by adding that the signing of the 3 performance contracts must not be perceived as an end in itself, but the beginning of work that needs to be done through an effective and robust implementation strategy. Each of the 3 SOEs involved in today's event is hugely significant and of particular interest to government and the general public. Consequently, I urge all of you to keep up whatever good work you have been doing and protect the image in every possible manner. We wish you success, good luck, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, and thank you, everybody. We now invite you to a group photo.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've got one for you. Okay. That's the care of the There you go, right, you know. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for this opportunity to talk to the press after signing this very important performance contract with the SOEs, 3 SOEs for now. Now, perhaps the public might also want to know what is contained in these performance contracts.
Thank you very much. It is a unique opportunity, and we take the single opportunity to thank His Excellency the President for creating the enabling environment in which such a transformation and reform agenda can take, transformative and reform agenda can take place. The content of the performance in the key performance indicators of the performance contract is specific to each SOE. It covers the area of their service level, their financial obligation, operational efficiency, and human capital development. All of these areas are covered. And there's a scoring matrix, and depending on the performance which will be measured, and if you realize that target, what can be done, like for example, is a performance criteria of 4 levels: satisfactory, poor, very good, excellent. And upon each of these triggers, there is going to be a mechanism of measuring the performance and feeding it into a model that will transmit the performance level achieved. And once those performance levels are achieved, the necessary compensation can follow, or if the performance are not realized, the consequent punishment or reprimand will take place, because it's for a period and it will be monitored on a year-to-year basis. Yeah, but it's very specific to each SOE, but it covers these 3 or 4 broad areas that I have mentioned. And one very important thing we also have at the background of it all, each SOE must fulfill all their financial and tax obligations before the performance assessment will be done. Thank you. Yes.
Do you have a specific financial target for them? If you do, then why don't you?
Well, the SOE contracts is specific to each of them, and for them, one of the key is the return on assets, return on equity. These are ratios, and we do not have exact performance level, but normally these are quoted in ratios. And the SOEs should share this with their staff, And it should be a public document going forward. This is not supposed to be hidden in the closet. It should be in the public so that the public know their expectation, and it is the incumbent on them for them to display or disclose their specific KPIs that are within this performance contract.
And finally, how were these 3 SOEs chosen? What were the basis of choosing these SOEs? And we understand that you intend to also expand it to other SOEs.
These are the leading SOEs in their respective sectors and very systemic to the economy. And that was the baseline of selecting them. They are the first of the first 3 that will be identified and for which a signature event took place today. The other SOEs will also be assessed and a performance assessment be done for which a performance contract will be designed and they will also come to sign. As the President has rightly said, very soon all the SOEs will be operating on the performance contract. Thank you.